Welcome back everyone, Oz here, and today I've got some r/entitled people for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my opinions at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Darth Curse 3131. Entitled parents kept parking in front of our driveway. For context, we live in an apartment building with 6 units. There are 2 parkings on each side of the building, for a total of 8 parking spaces. Both entrances are wide, like 2 to 3 cars wide, but the parkings don't reach the back of the building. Only the sides. Can't make a U-turn. Both entrances on the street in elementary school is right at the end of the street, 2 houses down. There is a roundabout in front of that school for parents to drop off and pick up their kids. The mornings aren't that bad as most kids walk or come by bus, or the parents very quickly drop them off into this roundabout. But lunches are crazy. My fiancé comes home during his lunch hour and always has to tell at least 3 parents to move from the entrance of our driveway. They don't park in the driveway, just in front of it. 2 or 3 cars usually. We can also see them park in front of other people's driveways. It would be fine if they were just parked on the street, but they keep blocking us. Their answers are usually, "Can't you wait 5 minutes while I get my kid?" Or, "You've got space to leave the driveway." Or they ignore us completely. We called the school multiple times before to tell them what happened, but it seems the parents could use some lessons in listening skills as the problem never went away. Well, this week we've had enough. Parking illegally in front of a driveway is something the local police was very interested in, especially after 4 houses and 3 apartment blocks called them one after the other on the same Monday. We all called back Tuesday when it happened again, and they told us, "We hear you, just make sure your cars aren't parked in front of your own driveways, and we'll take care of it." That night, the town had posted a notice on their page to not park in front of driveways when picking up or dropping off your kids, and that a ticket could be issued. Subtle foreshadowing here. Well, yesterday was the day. 2 police cars came on the street and blocked in anyone who wanted to leave. They had prepared multiple infraction tickets ready to be filed. They flagged down every single car that was parked even an inch in front of a driveway and issued tickets. The whole thing took at least an hour, as they wouldn't let anyone leave until everyone got their ticket and their gentle reminder not to park illegally. There was school today, and we allowed an officer to park in our driveway to supervise the dropping off/picking up of kids at lunch. Guess the word got around fast as no one stopped in front of anyone's driveways. The officer said next time it happens, take a picture and send it to his email. A picture is a good proof of a crime committed, and in a small town like ours, finding people like them is the highlight of their days. So all ends for us, and not too good for the parents with poor listening skills. Moral of the story, don't block someone's driveway. Even if it is just for 5 minutes, you have no idea if they're going to need to pull into the house or pull out, or if they need to quickly get inside because of a bathroom emergency, or a medical one for that matter. Also, if you have a problem similar to this but don't want to get the cops involved, check to see if your county or state has an app that allows you to actually submit photos of parking infractions or violations to essentially a county review board that'll then issue the citations to the license plate in question. I've had to do this a few times for people that park in front of my driveway. You just go and you take a photo of the front, back, and anything else they might request in the moment, and ship it off. And if there isn't an app or an online portal for you to submit those to, I'm sure there's probably an email address you can just yeet them off to and call it good. The Foxtrot 86. My entitled sister insisted on buying a brand new 5th-wheel trailer with grandparents as co-signers, then defaulted on the mortgage, and left it to my parents and grandparents to cover. It'll destroy my grandparents' credit if left unpaid. This is a continuation story to a few posts that have been previous episodes, which started with the pug hoarding episode. So if you want to get caught up and get more juicy context on this story, feel free to check those episodes out after this one. Thankfully, each story stands independently. For about 9 years, my sister and her 3 kids lived in a trailer next to the sub-building I rented to live in from my parents. It's kinda a house, but smaller and a bit more shed-like. Just fine for a middle-aged bachelor like me, and I treasure my privacy. My sister's trailer had to be hooked up to my house for water and power. We get our water from a well, so this means my sister shared a power bill with me for nearly a decade, and it was a nightmare getting her to pay. At first, my sister was okay as a neighbor, and I liked having my nephews around, but she only got worse with time. My sister moved back home after destroying her marriage when she cheated on her husband multiple times, and she thinks I don't know about it. One of those affairs was with one of our own cousins. Gross! I know. After my sister and her husband split, they sold the house and my sister got half the money, which was like $14K because it was just a manufactured home in a trailer park. After moving in, my sister was asked if she was going to be getting a job. She said she would in 3 months, after her kids went back to school. She would get weepy and say she couldn't imagine not being around her kids all summer if asked. Well, summer came and went, and my nephews went to school. Lo and behold, my sister refused to get a job. When called out, she'd get weepy again and repeat the same line about wanting to be around for her kids. Yeah, I did call her out for going back on the 3-month thing, and she'd just cry, gaslight, or find a way to make me wrong in an argument. She is far too good at doing that. My sister, of course, ran out of money in less than a year, so she begged her husband to get back together with her and live in the trailer. But she denied ever doing this and claims to everyone he asked her. But I trust his word over hers any day these days. What's even crazier is, my sister will make up stuff in her own head and then start believing it. She was diagnosed bipolar as a teenager and blocked out the diagnosis of having it. So, she, to this day, still believes she is not bipolar. But she's not only that, she's a narcissist too. She started as covert, but once exposed, it's pretty obvious. She puts herself first and only acted like she puts her kids first. She even put owning dogs first. You can read about that in another of my posts. The old trailer my sister and her family were originally living in wasn't in great shape. It was a camper trailer we had around that my parents got suckered into buying off a guy they thought was a good person. But the whole back end of it was rotting. The previous owner put down a new linoleum floor to hide it. My ex-brother-in-law had to tear that whole section of floor out and put in fresh plywood to fix it. And even then, it was a band-aid fix. So my sister decided she wanted to buy a trailer of her own after finally getting a job. Around that time, my sister and her husband split again. She's so toxic that he just couldn't take it anymore. He bought her a new fridge, and she was completely unappreciative of it. He finally couldn't take it anymore, and split from her for good. He's in the military reserve, so he got a VA loan to buy a house in one of the cheapest places he could find. Sadly, that area does not have a good school district. He got the kids on weekends, except when he was at drill. My sister, who was making minimum wage with tips, decided she was going to buy a brand new fifth-wheel trailer, and she got our grandparents to co-sign for it. At least, I was told it was a co-sign. Turns out my sister got them to be the only signers on the mortgage, so when she defaulted, only their credit was in jeopardy, not hers. My sister wasn't even supposed to buy a brand new trailer. It was supposed to be something used and far cheaper. But she made buying it brand new a hill to die on. And she got her way because she claimed to want a good home for her children. We later found out that the fifth wheel my sister bought was from one of the worst manufacturers on the market, which was confirmed by the multiple people who had to come out and fix it. My sister ended up having electrical and plumbing issues before long, and the warranty on the trailer only lasted a year. As for the bedroom accommodations, there was a master bedroom, a tiny second bedroom, a loft, and a pull-out sofa bed in the living room. My eldest nephew is not very tall, so he got the tiny bedroom. My middle nephew got the loft, and the youngest slept in the master bedroom with his mom for the first couple of years. But my middle nephew was growing huge. At 14, he was already nearly as big as me, so he couldn't fit in the loft anymore. For like a year, my middle nephew was living in a tent inside my storage room, which he actually really preferred. He had a heater when it was cold in the winter, and he could just leave the big door to the storage room open when it was summer. My other two nephews wanted to spend the summer in tents too, and my mother bought them some just so they could camp around the yard. My middle nephew had to leave my storage room because I needed the space back, and my sister wanted him closer to her. So all three of my nephews were camping around the yard near my house. I helped them out by running power cables to each of their tents, lent them some Timber Ridge camping cots I owned to sleep on, and gave them each an electric fan for airflow, and an ice cooler to keep cold beverages. And I gotta have a little fun by sneaking up on them while they were in their tents too. And they were doing the same to each other, as well as other pranks. My middle nephew a few times stuck his bum into one of his brother's tent windows and ripped a massive fart. That boy could really clean a room with his gas. But in September, my sister forced the kids out of the tents and back into the trailer. To be fair, Oregon weather in September is rather unpredictable, so they were better off inside once the rains hit. My middle nephew could no longer fit in the loft, so The loft was given to the youngest. My middle nephew had to sleep on the hide-a-bed couch in the living room, and he wasn't even given a curtain for privacy. The hide-a-bed was eventually ruined by the dogs and replaced with a bunk bed with the lower bunk removed. That way, the dogs couldn't reach it. My eldest nephew finally went to live with his dad full-time when he was 16 after getting in some trouble with the law, and left his tiny bedroom to his youngest brother. The eldest was too big to stay in there. My sister tried to refuse to let her eldest go live with his father, but I told her that he was going to go one way or another soon enough, and to just let him leave. Deep down though, I think she was more upset losing out on the child support for him, though I bet she'd deny that to her last breath. The boy was already openly talking about how bad he wanted to leave for some time. The most annoying thing about sharing an electric bill with my sister was trying to get her to pay it. At one time, she owed me $500 in unpaid power bills, and when confronted, she gave me $100 and acted like that should pay it off. I told her when she gave me the $100 that there was $400 left to go. She looked at me like I had two heads and literally said, "But I paid you!" I said she made a payment. She didn't pay at all, and again, she gave me that look and said, "But I paid you!" She was clearly trying to weasel out of the other $400, and was mad I didn't roll over and let her. I even said to her face $100 is not $500, and she still had to pay the rest of it. She eventually did, but very unhappily. Another time I confronted her about how she was going out drinking with friends almost every night when she owed me so much money. And to my face she said, "I'm not changing my life for your sake." It showed exactly where her priorities were. She also insisted on paying the power bill over the phone instead of by mail. She downloaded the app for it and everything. But every single time I wanted her to pay the bill, she'd heem and haw about it, and say she was tired or she'd do it later. It literally took her 5 minutes each time, and most times I had to force her to do it. It wasn't even being paid out of her account. It was mine. The longest she went without paying that bill was 2 weeks. And still, gave me grief for making her finally do it. After a year of dealing with her late bill paying, I had enough and went back to paying the bill with a mailed check. I used to be borderline dyslexic with check. In school, I took days just to fill one out, as an example. But I had to brute force myself to learn by referencing a photo of one on my phone and copying what I needed off of it until I had it memorized. My sister got upset I went back to paying by mail and said, "Why would you pay with a mailed check when you could just do it with my phone?" I got mad at her and pointed out how she always delayed and acted like it was too hard to do it when it took so little time. And I was tired of dealing with her BS over taking 5 minutes once a month to pay the bill. She shut right up about it and looked angry. She did bring it up one more time, and the same thing more or less happened. Now, I'm not sure it was about paying the bill, but about the manipulation. Consciously or unconsciously, my sister loves manipulating and controlling others, and she always wanted me under her thumb. But she was still always late in paying her half of the power bill. I'm on disability for autism, and my sister was making my power bills go over $500 a month in winter. I was basically scraping by because of her, and had to go into debt just to buy Christmas presents. Our mother even confronted her about it, and my sister acted sad and upset, but she didn't do a damn thing to change. My sister even had the audacity to show up at my door and ask to borrow another $100 from me twice, and said she was good to pay it back. No, she wasn't. She still owes me $800 to this day, and that's not counting the $200 I spent buying winter clothes for her kids while she was out partying and doing drugs. Eventually, my sister was only coming home 2 nights a week, and it was up to us to feed and take care of her kids. Then, Thanksgiving of 2023 was when shit hit the fan. Nobody felt like cooking, so we went out for Chinese food for Thanksgiving, and my sister was barely at the table. She left to go gamble, and when she finally came back, she proudly slammed $130 down on the table and bragged about her win. At the time, she owed me hundreds, and she owed our parents and grandparents thousands because they'd been covering her mortgage. Then she just sat down and stopped talking to everyone but her kids. I tried to have casual conversation with her multiple times, and she just either ignored me or was being a total jerk for no reason. Our father finally lost it on her and called her out. An argument ensued, and my sister walked out with our mother trailing after her. My sister forcibly made her kids leave with her, and she called our mother some horrid things. Our mother finally hit her breaking point and told my sister she was evicting her. Her exact words were, "Then you can get the fuck off my property." My sister didn't take the eviction seriously at first, but then she got a written notice from our mother and realized this was for real. My sister was out by January. After she left, I found out the mortgage for the fifth wheel trailer was entirely in my grandparents' names, and that it was $650 they had to pay every month, and are still paying. My sister wrecked that poor trailer too. She kept several dogs in it that were poorly trained and that pissed and shat everywhere. The urine even rusted out the vents. When cleaning out my sister's old room, we found hard evidence of her cheating on her husband with one of our cousins. We already knew she'd done it, but it was the first real evidence we found. It was an entry in a notebook in which she described her obsessive feelings for our cousin and circled it with a heart. My mother wanted to vomit when she found it. The trailer not only smelled like dog feces, but it also had mold all over the place. The washer and dryer were broken and several doors had holes in them. My sister was also hoarding expired food. I'm talking 3 years expired. We found a large unopened bottle of ketchup that was so old, the contents inside had turned from red to brown. And she was furious. We threw most of that food out. And then she made me return what was left of it to her. The trailer refrigerator and freezer was filled with rotten food of varying types, and it was absolutely disgusting for me to clean out. Rotten meat in the freezer had turned to brown goo. We had to have the trailer professionally steam cleaned, and I helped my grandparents, who are in their mid-80s, refurbish the place. I had to fix and repaint the vent covers and help install new doors, among other things. Currently, the fifth wheel trailer is still here, and my sister hasn't paid diddly on it in over a year. My grandparents are still paying the $650 a month for it. We can't find anyone to buy it, and there's still like $45,000 owed on the mortgage for it. Due to things I don't understand, we couldn't simply get someone else to take over the mortgage either. So we were shit out of luck to do anything but fix up the trailer and pay the mortgage ourselves. If my grandparents defaulted, it'll destroy their credit. They said they could just take the hit to their credit and let the trailer be repossessed, but we couldn't let them default. So my parents picked up the slack when they could, but now they're retired on fixed incomes too. What's more, the resale market on fifth wheel trailers is absolutely abysmal because you need a modified truck or special vehicle just to haul them. As for my nephews, my ex-brother-in-law took near full custody of them and is an excellent father. They're all doing great now. My sister only gets them like 2 days a month and some holidays, and last we checked, my sister was addicted to meth and crack and was dumpster diving and is living off of her abusive boyfriend's disability money while he's in prison. I've broken off contact with my sister completely, and she's tried to seek me out a few times. And the last time ended very badly when I kicked her off the property. I won't let her manipulate me anymore. This whole saga with the Foxtrot 86 kinda just is a really good example how one person's entitlement and just general self-centeredness affects everyone around them. It doesn't just affect their life, it affects their kid's life, it affects their ex's life, affects their mom's life, their dad's life, their grandparents' life, their brother's life. Everyone around them is pretty much forced to suffer and pick up the slack just because of how they treat the people around them. It's just so interesting to see this so thoroughly documented of how one person's actions can really just fuck with and harm so many people around them. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I was so interested in just covering all of these stories once I figured out they were all interconnected, is because it's such a good example of this. I mean, it is incredibly heartbreaking how everyone had to go through this level of hell, but it is something that a lot of people can learn from and help recognize signs of abuse or people taking advantage of them. So definitely a massive thank you to the Foxtrot for taking the time to write all of this out, because these could very well help people realize that they might be in a situation that's abusive or they're being taken advantage of without realizing it. I am also very happy that pretty much everyone is so far getting close to a happy ending. While the parents and grandparents are on fixed incomes and dealing with still paying the trailer's mortgage, at least the nephews are able to be in a safe environment now, and they're no longer within the sister's reach. Root beer, cutie booty. How to be entitled and coddling at the same time. Alright, so I work at a daycare. I've been at this daycare for 2 years, and I love it. It's not a perfect job, and of course, we run into entitled parents a lot. However, it's usually a weird mix of entitlement and just wanting us to baby their children. There's this one family who have 2 little boys. Let's call them Maverick and Randolph. Damn, you did Randolph dirty. Maverick is the older brother, nearly 3, and his brother Randolph turned 1 last year. Now, I'm closer to Randolph, and I'm one of his favorite teachers. His mom, who we'll call Miss E, seems to be a bit out of it. When Randolph was little, she asked the teachers in the baby room why he wasn't crawling. They then asked her if they were practicing crawling with him at home. She told the teachers no. So the baby room has 8 babies altogether. A normal person would realize we cannot focus on just 1 out of the 7. Later, she complained that we were using too many wipes on Randolph. Shocker of shocks, but babies poop a lot, and Randolph had so many blowouts as a kid. Parents have to supply their own wipes, which isn't a big deal for most parents. But for some reason, Miss E seemed to think we were wasting them. She wanted us to count the wipes we used. I wish I was kidding. The bigger issue is how Miss E treats Maverick. Despite being older, Maverick is struggling. Randolph can use words and I understand him. Maverick, he can barely form sentences. The other kids in his class will have full-on conversations with me. Maverick can't. He can say some words, but understanding him is hard. This is worrisome because this could be a sign of developmental delays. But most of us think it's because his mother is babying him. According to her, he still gets bottles at home. When the kids have lunch and breakfast, they have milk in a cup. Maverick never drinks it, and Miss E brought up that he still gets a bottle at home. Getting this kid to sleep during nap time is a complete nightmare. He will not stay on his cot, be quiet, or lie down. Someone either has to sit with him or rock him. Again, his peers can go to sleep on their own, but not him. But the big thing, the issue that we're facing now, is Maverick doesn't want to have his diaper changed. According to his lead teacher, he doesn't like being on the changing table anymore and fights her. Now, in this class, not all the kids are potty trained, but some are. He's in the classroom where the potty training starts. Wanna know why Maverick isn't potty trained? His mom isn't ready. Yep, that's right. His mom isn't ready to start teaching him. Keep in mind we have to deal with her son while he's at the daycare. He doesn't want to have his diaper changed and fights teachers when he's up there. It's both an inconvenience and dangerous. It just seems that she wants to fight us on every single thing. Miss E's husband is fine. I have no problems with him. But Miss E is driving us all bonkers. She seems upset we won't baby her kid like she does. When the other kids move up to the new classroom, Maverick might not be able to move up. This isn't a normal sense of entitlement. It's mixed with a refusal to let her kid grow up, and it's affecting him, but also making our jobs harder. It doesn't feel like too many episodes ago where we had a best of where a father was essentially speaking a made-up language, and I expressed the concern that I had that this could negatively affect the child in their language development. And here we see it. Now, granted, a made-up language is not being involved here, but the fact that there is a potential language issue caused by the mother's coddling does definitely suck. And yes, there could be the possibility that this is a developmental disorder and, not the mother's coddling, but considering how she's acting and the daycare instructor probably has a pretty good grasp on who or who is not an overly attached coddling mother and has also probably seen their fair share of children with developmental disorders, I definitely argue that, yeah, there's a decent chance that the coddling is causing a few issues. Sometimes I do have a worry, though, that I'll end up in a similar boat where I will either over-coddle my child and I'll cause similar problems, and that is a massive fear of mine when I do have children, that I'll make the same mistake. Then I also have the fear that I'll do the opposite, and I'll, just treat my 3-year-old or toddler like an adult, and I don't know where the line should be drawn. Because on one hand, I don't want to be the kind of parent that when, my child asks me a question, I'm just dismissive of it and just simply don't answer it. Because they're too young to understand the grasp of the question they just asked. I want to encourage their inquisitive, curious little minds. That's part of the exciting part. That's always been something that annoys me, is when I see a toddler or a 5-year-old ask a question, and it's actually, honest to God, an interesting question. And, the parents are just dismissive of it. And yes, I understand that there probably is a point where you're gonna have 5 billion questions a 5-year-old's gonna ask, and you do eventually hit a breaking point. But still, I feel like it's a disservice to the child to just simply dismiss their questions. Okay, real quick, this one is full of IT jargon, and I'm going to do my best to translate to those of you who are not in the field, and for those of you who are in the field, please know that I am trying to simplify it as much as possible, and I haven't been in the IT space for almost 5 years, so if I do make a fuck up, please feel free to correct me in the comments. Posted by user Hygh Sergeant. Friend asked me to mentor his kid's project with my kid, then expected to deliver project in 1 month. Back in late January, my friend, X, now ex-friend LOL, asked if my kid wanted to join a website project with his kid. He wanted me to be the project's mentor, along with him and other parents. He mentioned that his kid had spent around 70 hours on Wix, but was facing many issues. Since I had an engineering background and had been teaching my kid coding for fun, my kid was interested in learning more about website setup, something different from the JavaScript and Python he had learned before. So we decided to join. In simple terms, JavaScript is used for client-side processes on the browser, and Python is normally used for server-side processes that are handled off-machine. So basically, JavaScript sends a request to Python, Python returns the request and gives it to JavaScript, JavaScript then converts the information into displayable information for the end user. Again, by no means is this an end-all explanation, this is just how these are being used in this specific example. There are countless ways to utilize these programming languages. To manage this project properly, I set up Slack, Trello, and Jira. Slack is a corporate messaging service, Trello acts as a virtual job board similar to Hygh OS, and in a sense is just digital Scrum, and Jira is used to report, categorize, and document bugs within software. Oftentimes goes hand in hand with Hygh or Trello. On the first day, X's kid, let's call him X's, created a Jira ticket titled "Fix Bugs on the Website," but without any description. I spent a lot of time teaching the kid, 5 kids including my own, how to properly document their work, adding details, descriptions, user interface designs, and other specifics to speed up the process. After the first week in February, tickets were still not updated properly. Some had just a lazy screenshot from Wix with no explanation. I held another training session to show the team why these vague tickets couldn't be developed. At the same time, I set up the development environment, Firebase authentication, Firestore database, and storage. Then I built the website's landing page using next.js. My kid worked on mockups using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I later ported those to next.js. Long story short, Firebase and Firestore are both Google services to run the backend. They're essentially like your engine for the car, or the kitchen to the restaurant. While next.js is the framework, i.e. the chassis of the car or the building the kitchen's within. HTML is a markup language that's used to organize and set up websites. CSS, or cascading style sheet, is used to actually style the HTML, and JavaScript is used to animate or add functionality to the CSS and HTML. Again, very simplified explanations, as I'm not qualified to run a comp sci class, but hopefully this is enough to help people who aren't familiar with the field at least follow along a little bit for how much effort OP is putting into this project. During our first weekly meeting, X suddenly asked me when I could deliver the website to him. That felt off. I told him the kids needed to study step by step, estimate their work, and then we could create a proper timeline. By the second week of February, tickets were still unclear and lacking details. My kid asked X's, "Hey, can you add more details to the ticket? We can't understand how to develop it." X's replied, "I'm busy with homework," then attached a bunch of screenshots to multiple tickets, assigned them to me and my kid, and said we had 1 week to complete them. I told him, "No, that's not how software development works. You write tickets clearly, my kid estimates, and then we identify the timeline." He seemed to understand, at first. In the third week of February, tickets got minor updates, just 1 or 2 lines of text. X's apologized, saying, "Sorry, I have a writing contest." The only significant thing he contributed was a Google form to send to the client. By this point, I had already helped my kid complete 50 to 60% of the work. Then, X called me again, asking if we could deliver the project in 2 weeks. I asked, where did this 2-week deadline come from? He said because I promised the client. I told him, then tell your kid to remove some non-essential features for this release. A couple days later, X's came back with an updated screenshot, but the only difference was that some lines had been removed. By the 4th week of February, X's had another excuse. "Sorry, I have cadet." At this point, I was thinking, what the fuck? Meanwhile, X kept pressing me about the delivery date. I finally told him, "I'm a mentor. I help my kid. I'm not the coder responsible for finishing the entire project. My kid also needs time to learn. X then responded, you can just do the whole thing, and your son can learn later. Wow. That's when it became clear. He had invited my son just so that I would do all the work. I called him out in the weekly meeting. You're not professional if you're expecting a mentor to do all the work. You don't care about the learning process at all. And then X blocked me, unfriended me on social media, and removed me from the meeting group. X has even told the client that the IT team was causing delays and couldn't deliver the project in 1 month. That was enough for me. I deleted the Jira board, Slack workspace, GitHub code, Versal development, Firebase project, everything. Then, unbelievably, X has asked me to give him the code so he could hire another team with money to finish it in 1 week. What the fuck? I just feel sorry for his future. Vercel deployment is just the framework for Next.js, and GitHub is essentially a cloud-based code storing solution that allows you to cross-compare and version control files to make sure that if 2 people are working on the same file or code base, that there's no conflicts in play, or that you can manage those conflicts to make sure everything slots together perfectly. But too long didn't read, my ex-friend X invited my kid to a website project with his kid, claiming it was a learning opportunity. I set up proper project management tools and helped teach the kids software development. However, X's contributed minimal effort, dumped vague tasks on me and my kid, and kept making excuses. Meanwhile, X kept pressuring me for deadlines because he had promised a client. Eventually, I realized X just wanted me to do all the work. When I called him out, he blocked me, blamed the delays on me, and removed me from the project. I deleted everything, and then X's had the audacity to ask for my code so he could pay someone else to finish it in a week. I cannot even begin to spell out how much of a service OP was trying to do for not just his son as well as X's son, and the amount of effort that he was willing to put in to make this a proper teaching experience that, honestly, could get you a job before you even get your degree in the field you're looking to get a job in, because you would have a pretty fucking stacked portfolio and show you know what you're doing. OP designed and built an extremely professional development environment for them to essentially sandbox and learn in. And by the sounds of it, he did it for free. Honestly, OP did manage to give his son an incredible teaching experience though. And that's identifying clients that you're just better off avoiding. And again, to those of you who, specialize within web development or are in this field professionally, I'm sorry if my explanations weren't up to snuff. It has been a long time since I've worked in this field. But I just wanted to provide explanations to people who aren't familiar with this field to understand just how much effort OP actually put into this potential mentorship. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.